Memphis, Tennessee. Beautiful, diverse, southern. It's hard to think of Memphis without thinking about music. While it's home to the birthplace of rock and roll, out of Memphis culture grew a community that loves blues, gospel, jazz, rap, R&B, soul, sports, and delicious barbecue. A bit south of the heart of Memphis and stretching from Midtown and downtown to the Mississippi state line stands one of the oldest communities of this grand city, Riverside, South Memphis. While most focus on the accomplishments of Memphis as a whole, this new podcast, Riverside in Review, sheds light on the incredible names and achievements that have sprung from this significant community in the South. Some you may know and some you may not. From the musical greats like the Queen of Soul herself, Aretha Franklin, to impactful politicians like Benjamin Hooks. On this podcast, we will discuss them all and more. So join me, your host, Demetrius Smith, as I, through in-depth conversations, explore the soul and the soulful history of Riverside, South Memphis. You may ask, why a podcast? Or better yet, why a podcast about South Memphis? The answer for me is simple. It's long overdue. If we allow the local and national media to give us a snapshot of who we are, we will only see crime and poverty. But I know that Riverside, South Memphis is much more than that. While I can admit crime in our city is out of control, we should not accept this one-sided view of who we are. I know that despite the problems facing our community, there are several individuals from among our ranks who are doing tremendous work within and outside of the community. These individuals have garnered considerable momentum, contributing to positive societal influence. Unfortunately, their endeavors go largely unnoticed, since, in my opinion, they don't have the benefit of powerful media to highlight their hard work and accomplishments. Why not create a platform where these individuals can be seen and heard, a place where through an in-depth conversation about the community's rich historical significance and the work of these dedicated individuals, the narrative can shift and we can get a closer, more intimate picture of Riverside, South Memphis.
Hey, baby, what you doing tonight? I'm in town for a little while and I bet you're feeling lonely.
You got to get over what you can't control. You got to give folk back to God. What I want to help you to understand this morning, and that is when you got a determination to stand, you can't be double dutching back and forth with God and the devil. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, excuse me.
Welcome to Riverside in Review, the podcast that brings you inspiring interviews with remarkable individuals who have made significant progress in the world of social politics, business, entertainment, and beyond. I am your host, Demetrius Smith. Once again, I'm honored to introduce my next guest. Today, we're thrilled to have Dr. TeNita Freeman join us. Dr. Freeman, a revered preacher and leadership coach, has spent over 25 years impacting ministries and communities across the United States. Originating from Riverside, South Memphis, she stands out for her commitment to supporting single mothers and youth through her ministries, including the Gathering Place Worship Center, TeNita Freeman Ministries. In the world of business, Dr. Freeman excels as the CEO of Freeman Enterprises, blending her academic prowess, including a Doctor of Divinity with the skills in Lean Six Sigma. Her role extends to being the founder of Reevaluate Me and a co-founder of the Black Brothers Brunch. Additionally, she contributes her insight as a family and community engagement specialist. And as an adjunct professor, Dr. Freeman is a proud graduate of George Washington High School, class of 1987. She also participates in charity races and volunteers with St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, Young Actors Guild, Youth Performance Art Organization, Memphis Juneteenth, and Black Girls Run. As a mother of two, Dr. Freeman actively engages in various community service and is a proud member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Her life reflects her commitment to empowering and uplifting others, inspiring many with her guiding principle. He that hath an ear, let him hear. Join us as we explore Dr. Freeman's remarkable journey and insights. And we are happy to see and hear from this dynamic young lady. Thank you, Dr. Freeman, for agreeing to visit with us this afternoon.
Thank you so much, my brother. It is an honor and a pleasure to be able to be on this amazing platform today.
Great. You know, one of the memories that stand out, it's kind of etched in the canvas of my mind, was when all the kids were packed inside your mother's home was the Vent in Kansas. And, that place was really a house of refuge. We could talk about all the gossip and politics of Riverview Junior High. You could do your homework there. And I just remember feeling safe and welcome there.
Wow.
And that's shout out to your mother, Miss Gloria Jean,
Oh, thank you.
for allowing that, to happen. We had a few crushes going on, but there was never any disrespect.
That's right. That's right.
And there were a lot of places that I could have hung out that definitely weren't not as safe or nearly as productive as that house.
Yes.
And, I'm grateful to have had that experience at such an impressionable age. And when I look at your ministry and what you're doing, just from my perspective, it seems as though you took some of the principles that time and put it on a grand scale. They say charity begins at home.
Yes, yes.
How do you discern your call to ministry, and what led you to become a pastor?
First of all, thank you again for this opportunity, and just you bringing up that one pivotal moment almost brought tears to my eyes because you're absolutely right. 105 West Devant was a safe haven to so many in our area, in our community. And I tell you, brother, it was really started with my grandmother, Ruby Bale, who was very active and committed to God's work at Oak Grove Missionary Baptist Church. And then my grandmother on my father's side, my paternal grandmother, Evangelist Vernetta Banks, who was a longtime evangelist, supporter, and committed to the work at Temple of Deliverance, Church of God in Christ, under the late Bishop G.E. Patterson. So having those two matriarchs in my life at a very young age, very active, I was able to see what servanthood looked like. I was able to witness compassion, the love for people, and not to judge people for what they have or what they didn't have. Because, you talk about that house, at 105 West Devant at Kansas and Devant. We didn't have much. It was a lot of us in the house. We only had 2 bedrooms, like a lot of our homes in South Memphis, 1 bathroom, 1 living room, 1 kitchen, and then an extended room built on the back for us, the kids. But what we did have is we had love, we had respect, we had, just commitment for unity. And it was all about us coming together. And that's really, I know that God called me into ministry was because I was able to see it at a very young age.
That's good. What aspects of the ministry do you find most rewarding, and what aspects do you find most challenging?
So what I find most rewarding is when 1 or 2 people or however many people just come back. But when people come back to simply say thank you, when people come back to say, I appreciate you for praying for me, or I appreciate you for taking time to come to the hospital, to come and see about my family, just those little things. And, whenever a lot of people are together, you're going to have different characteristics. You have different attitudes. You just have different things because at the end of the day, people are going to be people. One of the most challenging things in ministry, brother, is when you want more for people than they want for themselves. That's one of the most challenging things about ministry. And it's very heartfelt as well. But there's lyrics to a song that says, my good days outweighed my bad days, and I won't complain. So it is the goodness of the fruit from my labor, the goodness of knowing that I am doing what God has called me to do and not worry about those negative points or those points that, would cause me to throw in the towel or don't want to do this anymore. So when I tell you the good news outweighs the bad news.
Well, this next question, I think I know the answer to, by just listening to your passion.
Yeah.
What is the role of the pastor in today's society? And I think I hear you saying service is the biggest, but I could be wrong. I'll let you speak on that.
So for me personally, I think the biggest role is kind of twofold, and that is servanthood and discipleship. You
Mm.
know, a lot of people say, it's not the pastor's role to go out and get people and bring them into the church. It's not the pastor's role to do the work of the sheep. Well, you know what, brother? So I learned this from Bishop G.E. Patterson. The way that you can tell the effectiveness of a leader, the effectiveness of a shepherd, and that is when they can smell like sheep. What does that mean?
That's good.
That means that the only way you can smell like sheep is that you have had to been with sheep, not
That's
just
right.
around sheep, but having communion with sheep, working with sheep, and knowing that it's not about your title, but it is about us working together, doing the work of feeding the homeless, clothing those who are naked, helping single moms, single dads with whatever needs that their children have, really being a true servant of God. And for me as a pastor, as a leader, like our church is virtual. But we're in 2024, it'll be pretty much hybrid. We will meet in person one Sunday out of the month. But when I
Okay.
tell you, it is very important that the people that I coach, the people that God has given me to lead, that we understand that the kingdom of God is at hand, that the hunger for God's people is outside of the four walls of the church. We come into the building to get the training and the instruction that we need. Then we go out and we make it happen. We manifest what God has given us on the inside. So our role is not just to stand behind the podium. Our role is not just for lights, cameras, and action. Our role really is determined, and the effectiveness of that role is determined by the fruit of our labor.
Outstanding. And speaking of roles, you wear another hat. You're an educator.
Yes.
So
Yes.
now, how as an educator, how do you integrate
Mm.
faith-based principles into your teaching?
Woo. So, as an educator, I don't know if you remember this, or you may remember when I first got into education back in 1997. I was teaching at Riverview Middle School.
Okay, I didn't know that. No,
Yeah,
I didn't.
yeah. So I actually went back home and I was a math teacher. I was there for 6 years. And it was
Okay.
absolutely amazing to be able to go back home and work, teach some of the children of the parents that we went to school with. And so, even in the role that I am in now in K 12 as a family and community engagement specialist, that's ministry. I
Right.
have children on a daily basis that will meet me coming in the building
Mm.
as early as 7:30 in the morning. I'm Mama Freeman to them.
Okay.
Mama, I need this. Mama, I need that. Or my principal or other members of the administrative team will call me. Dr. Freeman, we have a student that needs shoes. They need clothes. We have a family in need of food. Can you do this? Can you do that? Thank God for the partnership and the resources that we have where if I don't have it in my room, I can make a phone call. Case in point, I had a ninth grader to come in to me and she said, Miss Freeman, my family does not have food and I have 8 siblings. Well, she said, I have 8 brothers and sisters. I didn't ask her nothing about her mother. I didn't ask her nothing about her living condition because, brother, that wasn't important to me.
No.
What was important to me, ministry, was helping to meet the need that this baby was asking for her family. And what I did do, I did call her mother because when it gets to that level, you want to talk to the parent so you can have permission to give, resources
Mm.
and connections. So the
Right.
shorter of it is, we were able to bless that family with gobs of groceries. We were able to bless those children with clothing. And when I talked to the mother, she broke down and she cried and she said, we are new to Memphis and I didn't know that the school would help us. I said, well, Mom, we have a lot of resources and know that whatever you need, Here is my direct number. Call me, my cell phone number. Call me. So that's ministry. Even as an
Exactly.
adjunct professor with my college students, I have college students that sometimes can't make class. They don't have a babysitter, or they're sick, or they need to work overtime, whatever the case may be.
Mhm.
I believe that God has assigned me, how he has assigned me for the people that he has assigned me to. So everything that I do, ministry is a part of what I do.
Outstanding. Well, I was going to ask, how do you create a supportive and inclusive learning environment for the students inside the classroom?
The first thing that I do is, because I work with the teachers as well. So in my role, I'm a support to the teachers. I'm a support to the students. I'm a support to families. There are children, there are students who have some barriers in some of their learning abilities. And what I have done and what I continue to do is, when there's a student that need me, I will go and get them, allow them to bring their work into my space, because my space has a different vibe to it. And so taking a child out of a space that could be chaotic, that could be confusing, that could be depressing to them, or it could be someone in the class that they're having an issue with, whatever it is, I do what I know that God has called me in that building to do, to give that child a chance to be successful.
That's great. Well, I'm going to ask a question that's a little, on the fence, I guess. As a
Yeah.
female pastor, how do you navigate these gender dynamics within your religious community and leadership role?
Ooh. So
I thought that one might hit a nerve.
it's challenging. It is definitely challenging. And there are also times here just recently where we still have male pastors that don't allow women preachers in their pulpit,
Right.
that don't recognize women preachers, women pastors. And, brother, what I do is I just respect what they ask. It is still very difficult, but I understand the scripture that says we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but it's a principality. It is a man-made belief, because the word of God says that my sons and my daughters shall prophesy. The word of God also tells us that it was Mary Magdalene, who was a woman who was the first to encounter Jesus after the resurrection. So what does that do? That makes her a disciple. That makes her a woman of God, because Jesus said, go and tell them that I have risen. So she was the first one to go and give the good news. It was a Samaritan woman that had an encounter with Jesus, where Jesus wasn't concerned about what she had going on, but he was only concerned about what she believed. And then he said to a woman, the Samaritan woman, go and tell them that you have encountered the Messiah. So what I do, I choose my battles. And that's a battle that's not worth fighting, because there are too many souls out here that need saving, that need restoring, and just really need a life-changing word for whatever it is that they're going through.
It's true.
Riverside High School, changing of the guard, or something more sinister. When Riverside student Carlos Jones agrees to assist the school's guidance counselor in a plot to derail the stellar career of its beloved principal, a sordid culture of competitive politics, reverse racial discrimination, and inappropriate sexual behavior is revealed. The plan threatens not only to destroy the lives of innocent victims, but could also destroy the reputations of the proud inner-city high school. Pick up all 3 copies of this award-winning tale by author Demetrius Smith from Amazon.com. Scandal at Riverside High, Ruth's Revenge, and The Final Bell.
Then we're going to switch over to your next hat, because you have a few hats.
Yes.
Motivational speaker. And I can definitely see that,
Oh, thank
in you.
you. Thank you.
Can you share a memorable moment when you witnessed the impact of your motivational speaking on someone's life?
Oh, wow. Yes. I can go back to Kirby High School. Even before I was employed there, I was brought in to be the speaker for an awards program. I've been called into several schools to speak to the children to motivate them. I've been called in to speak to parents to motivate them, to encourage them. One of the greatest moments was when I had a young man that had been shot, and I'm not going to cry,
Okay.
to come up to me,
It's okay if you do.
to come up to me and say to me, thank you for caring about me. Thank you for not judging me. Thank you for letting me know that there is hope for me. And to this day, that young man is in college. That young man received a scholarship from an organization that I'm connected to. That young man went from doing what he was doing in the streets to now being a college student on his way of being a great, great citizen for our country.
Oh, well, that's good. Definitely answered that question perfectly.
Thank you.
How do you integrate prayer in your daily life and leadership responsibilities? I believe prayer is very important. And coming from a pastor, I just like to know. I never asked a pastor that question. I just wanted to know from a pastor, how does that work?
So first of all, my prayer life has to do from my position of a woman, my position of a mother, my position of a caregiver to my own mother, my position of how children and even some of my coworkers will need me. That's first of all how my prayer life is set up. As it relates to my assignment as a pastor, it's very important for me to pray more than, God, I need for you to do this. God, I need for you to do that. No, I have to really go and ask God, number one, to forgive me of any mental sin. Let me tell you the reason why. Because people will try you.
Yeah.
People will play games. People will manipulate. People will do whatever they can to try to discredit who God has called you to be. So I have to pray and ask God to keep my mind as to where I can stay focused on Him and not on them. Because every day that I wake up, it is He that has given me breath in my body, the activity of my limbs, strength to do what He has called me to do. So my first prayer is for me to reevaluate myself, to make sure that when I step out of my room, not even out of the house, but first of all, when I step out of the room and my children and my mother are dependent on my energy, that's priority. Because if I'm off, everything in my house is off. If I'm off, when I get to work, everybody wants to know what's wrong, what's wrong. No, I have to be sure that whatever it is that has come up against me or that may come up against me, that God strengthen me and conditions me to handle it His way and not with my flesh or my emotions.
Well, we're going to move on to your last hat. I
Okay.
think it's your last hat. You participate in charity races,
Yes.
you volunteer with St. Jude Hospital, the Young Actors Guild, Youth Performing Art Organization. Can you explain to us what that is?
Absolutely. YAG, Young Actors Guild, is a performing arts academy that is led by founder and artistic director, Miss Christy Chandler, who is one of my mentors. The organization is now 33 years old this year.
Okay.
And I was just having a conversation with her about the 33rd celebration. This organization has really changed the trajectory as well as lives for so many young people. Thousands have gone to college, have graduated. Many have been on big stages. Gideon McKinney, Evie McKinney, folks have been on So You Think You Can Dance, a young man right now that's on Broadway that was in The Lion King, and now he's in the musical, the Michael Jackson musical. He is also from Young Actors Guild. So this organization, based in Orange Mound, right at the corner of Lamar and Pendleton, changes lives on a daily basis through the arts, through music, dance, singing, instrumental. My children were a part of Young Actors Guild for 8 years. And even now, both of my children are alumni, and I'm still a volunteer parent because I believe in the work that Miss Christie is doing there in the Orange Mound community. She's literally changing lives and creating stars out of children that have learning disabilities, children that may have gone through mental abuse, children that may at one time have been failing in school. The arts is very powerful and helps children to redirect and gives them a balance of hope.
Great. Tell me about Black Girls Run. I see you on.
So, yeah, Black Girls Run, thanks to my sister, TeNita.
TeNita, that's right.
Yes, because, she's a marathoner. She's a running coach. She's an international certified personal trainer. My sister got me involved in Black Girls Run years ago, when we would be involved in charity races and runs. Of course, she's an ambassador for Black Girls Run, and just being a part of that organization, being a part of races, is because of her that I ran my first half marathon a few years ago. I'm planning to do another one in 2024. I've done a number of 5Ks and 10Ks. You get to meet so many people, not only giving back to the actual charities, but you get to meet some amazing people. You get to exercise, work out. Everybody can't walk 3 miles. Everybody can walk 6 miles. But just being out there, even if you're just working a water stop, it's all about the camaraderie. It's all about the community and what you can do to bring a smile on somebody else's face.
Yeah. Well, that brings me to my last question. I'm going to ask this last question, then I'm going to ask a favor of you.
Okay.
The question is, what is your vision for the future of your church and its impact on the community?
Wow, that's a very good question. So my vision, our vision for our church, is to continue to be impactful in the community, to continue to help souls that are lost or souls that have a desire to regain their relationship with God, and be the community that God has called us to be. God gave me a mentorship experience that we started earlier this year entitled Reevaluate Me. Reevaluate Me is a mentorship experience, and I just want to read real briefly what the mission is. We're getting ready for our spring cohort. Our spring cohort is going to begin in January, where individuals are able to come into a private Zoom room twice a month. And I'm one of the mentors. And then I have other mentors that are college professors, that are business professionals, as well as a couple of clergy people. But we come into the Zoom room twice a month to help individuals to understand the importance of making you a priority. Reevaluate me. And I'll just go ahead on and give you and the listeners this for free. One of the first things that we do is we write a letter of forgiveness.
Okay.
What are ways, or what are some things that I need to do to forgive myself? There's no way for you to be good for somebody else if you don't forgive yourself for the stuff that you went through or the things that you did. Because listen, we know, coming up in South Memphis, coming up in Riverside, we were in some wrong places at the wrong time. But guess what? We didn't get in trouble. But now, as we're older, we can say that God kept us.
Kept us, exactly. Absolutely.
And we didn't have snitches to go and tell mama and grandmama and all those types of people. So if I can read just the mission real quick. The mission of Reevaluate Me, the mentorship experience, is to provide a safe haven for personal reevaluation through self-awareness, empowered by affirmations to jumpstart the discovery of full potential in your rightful place. So all
Like
of that is simply saying we have to reevaluate ourselves so we can be in the place that God has called for us to be. Jumpstart the business that God has created us to jumpstart. Even this platform of what you're doing, who would have thought that we would be
right.
where we are right now?
Exactly.
Simply because we took something that God gave us and we didn't just sit it on the shelf to wait for somebody else to give us permission to get
Yes.
it done. We got it done because we looked in the mirror one day and we said, you know what? I need to do this for my community and to help others.
Very well said. Thank you.
Thank you.
And it's funny because that was the favor. I wanted you to give me a moment or anything that, from Riverside that you remember, whether it was a funny event, whether it was whatever, do you have a special Riverside, South Memphis story that you would like to share?
Let me tell you,
you have hundreds.
Let me tell you, I have several stories, but I will share one in particular that comes to mind. And it has to do with some people that were very important in our lives. Irene Thompson, Evelyn Cole, AC Jackson, Coach Horbez, Coach Tucker. Those people really helped us, really helped me to be the woman that I am today. One of the things that I can remember, it lives at the front of my brain. I remember being at the community center one day with Jackie Banks and Johnny. And my mama, I ain't gonna say my mother, my mama told me, don't go to that community center. Don't go to that swimming pool. I went anyway. I went anyway. I went because those people gave me something that was going to help me to be who I am today. I didn't know then. But when I got home, of course, Mama, we didn't have phones back then. What took you so long to get home? Then I started trying to lie. Tell me we had major red practice. She said, no, major red practice been over. Because Richard Blair, who lived in the back, he was a drummer. Richard already at home. And da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So I got in trouble, but I did my best to help my mom to understand that walking up and down Kansas was really a lifeline. Being able to hang out with people that loved us for real, the community leaders that loved us for real, our friends, we would meet up at the railroad track, we meet up at Hens Grocery. At Jones Sundry, just whatever it was. So I will say that I am South Memphis proud. I'm Riverside proud.
And I can't wait till we can get back to those days.
I know.
When people really cared about you.
Yes, South Memphis and Riverside proud. Because if I had not walked up and down Kansas Street, if I had not gone up and down Majuba, if I had not gone up and down Castex, if I had not gone up and down Devent, if I had not gone over the railroad track, if I had not made some of those journeys, I wouldn't be who God has created me to be today. So I'm grateful for Riverside. I'm grateful for South Memphis. And I'm grateful for Riverview and Carver.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm proud of myself. I got through this whole interview without calling you Shell or saying Pussy or Cupcake. So
you are doing
I wasn't sure I was going to be able to do it.
Awesome job. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. I'm proud of you as well.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for agreeing to join me.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And so that brings me to the end of this show. And I want to thank Dr. Freeman for volunteering her time and coming to speak with me. And we invite all former and present Riverside, South Memphis residents who would like to be considered as potential guests on our show to kindly complete the guest intake form on our website. If the idea of sharing your story with our audience appeals to you, then go to www.riversideinreview.com. That's www.riverside.review.com. And this has been another episode of Riverside in Review. Thank you all for listening. Thank you, Dr. Freeman.
Thank you so much, Dee.